morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How is everybody doing today? I'm recording this video as an instruction guide and an explanation of the extra credit optional assignment that me and Mr. Caffarella have created to hopefully help you guys raise your grade and give you a little boost in your overall yearly average. So this assignment was basically designed to help anyone that did not do well with remote learning the first quarter or first two quarters, or really slipped up somehow for whatever reason in any one or two or three or four of the quarters that we've had so far this school year. It's designed to help give you a bump in your grade and to help you maybe get over that hump from having to go to summer school to passing. Or for some of you that are doing this just to take and get a higher grade and improve your fourth quarter grade, it's meant to do that as well. So that's the idea behind it. That's what we're trying to do. That's the goal for this assignment, is to try to take and give anybody who wants one a boost so that their overall average is better than what it might have been if they don't do this assignment. So what I want to do is I want to go through each of these sections, each of the pages and stuff like that, and explain kind of what you're going to be doing, what's expected of you for this assignment, and then go over the grading quickly. And that should wrap up this video and give you a really good idea of what this assignment is going to be about, when it's due, all of those sorts of things. And for both Mr. Caffarella's class and my class, we will be taking and answering any questions that you guys have on Tuesday and Wednesday when you guys are live in the building. But I wanted to do this now just to kind of give you guys a head start and introduce it to you so you knew what to expect and what this was right off the bat. All right. So there are two parts to this assignment. Part A revolves around documents, and then Part B revolves around answering a question. There are only 3 documents to Part A, and as the directions say, you need to answer the questions that follow each document. So, for example, we have document number 1 here that gives you some background about the caning of Charles Sumner and the Kansas-Nebraska crisis. And then based on this information and based on the document, and also more importantly, based on the knowledge that you have and the information that you have learned throughout the course of the Civil War unit and throughout the course of this year, what this first question is going to ask you is, what are the historical circumstances that led to Bleeding Kansas? Okay, guys, so that's the first question you have to answer. You can write it right on this document. For my students, I will be creating a copy for all of you like I have for all of the key terms. So all you are going to have to do is just click above where it says turn in, and that will open your copy of the document, and you type all your answers on that document. Don't worry if the formatting or spacing gets messed up. That's 100% okay, guys. It doesn't matter so long as I can find your answers and I see where your answers are and what they are. I will give you credit for that. Okay, guys, just as long as all of your answers are on this sheet, or if you create a separate sheet and attach it to the assignment, just as long as it's handed in with that assignment. Okay, guys? So the first question is, what are the historical circumstances that led to Bleeding Kansas? So remember, this all comes from your knowledge. You're not using the document necessarily. You are using your knowledge and your knowledge of the Kansas-Nebraska crisis and Bleeding Kansas and what led up to that to answer that question and to fully answer that question. So that is the first question you guys are asked. The second question for document number 2, there's one question per document, by the way, guys. For document 2, you have this page and this page. This is all document 2, okay? And it says, based on document 2, so the 2 pages previously, who do you think was more prepared for the start of the Civil War? And you need to explain why, okay? So that's question number 2 that goes with document 2. And then document number 3 is John Gast's painting American Progress. So you read the little description down here, and then what you need to do is you need to answer question number 3. Choose one part of the image and explain how it relates to westward expansion. So that's what you're going to answer. That's what you're going to do, guys, is talk about the painting and try to relate it to westward expansion. So a lot of that is going to be from your brain, just so you know. Okay? Everybody has to answer all three of these questions. It doesn't matter what option you are going to take in part B. Everybody has to answer all three of these document questions, just so you know. Now, what do I mean by options? When we get to part B, okay, it says choose one of the following questions to answer in a one paragraph explanation using the documents above to support your answer. You can pick either question one or question two. You do not have to answer both, okay? You're going to pick one or the other, and you're going to answer either one of these questions, whichever one you feel more comfortable about answering. Don't feel bad if you start answering one of these questions and then you realize you don't know a whole lot about that question and you delete your answer and you go back and you use the other documents to answer that question. You want to pick the one that you feel like you will be able to answer best and most accurately in order to gain full credit for this assignment. Okay? So for this question, you are going to be using documents 1 and 2. And for this question, you will be using document 3. So the questions say, identify the events that led up to the Civil War. Which event do you think was the biggest cause of the Civil War? Explain why. Who do you think was more prepared for the Civil War, the North or the South? Explain why. Okay? And you want to use evidence from the documents, most likely document 2, for this question right here. So make sure you use that, make sure you do that. Question number 2, using the painting American Progress, explain how westward expansion was one of the causes leading to the American Civil War. Be sure to include how westward expansion and manifest destiny influenced the debate over slavery or about slavery. You are going to use document 3 for this one, and you're going to take and use a lot of knowledge from your study of social studies to answer that one as well. Same with question number 1. There's a lot of knowledge that it's going to take to answer that question. So make sure you are prepared. Make sure you are using that background knowledge as well as the documents, guys. Okay? So remember, you are only picking one of these questions. You do not have to answer both. You just have to pick one, and you have to pick one that you think you can answer in about 4 to 5 sentences. Okay? One sentence, 2 sentences is not going to cut it. It needs to be between at least 4 or 5 sentences. Okay, guys? It doesn't need to be a whole 5-page essay, 5-paragraph essay, but it does need to be at least 4 or 5 sentences answering the question fully. Okay? So that is the assignment. You are not required to do this. You can if you want to raise your grade. So the next step I want to take a look at is how this is going to raise your grade. So if we go over to the grading for extra credit assignment, this is how the grades are going to break down, just so you know. We have a lot of numbers here, guys, but let me at least take a second and explain what this all means. Okay? So the numbers on the left 50 to 60, 61 to 65, 66 to 70, 71 to 75, 76 to 80, 81 to 100. Those are averages. So if your fourth quarter average is between a 50 and a 60, you can gain 30 points to your overall average if you take and complete the answers to this question. If you have a 61 to a 65 for your overall yearly average, you can earn 25 points added onto that average. Okay? If you get a 66 to a 70, if you have between a 66 and a 70, you can earn 20 points added onto that average. If you have a 71 to a 75, you can earn 15 points onto that average. If you have a 76 to an 80, you earn 10 points, and an 81 to a 100, you earn 5. So what am I talking about? Okay, so let's kind of break this down just a little bit, and let me back that up a minute. So let's say that for the purposes of this, that for each of the 4 quarters throughout this year, you earned a 57. So 57 for quarter number 1, 57 for quarter number 2, 57 for quarter number 3, and 57 for quarter number 4. How do we figure out averages? Well, give me 1 second, guys. I meant to pull this up, but didn't get a chance to. Calculator. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead. Like I said, we have, I wonder if I can, yes, I can. All right. So we said before that each of the four quarters you had a 57. So let's go ahead and punch that in. So a 57 plus a 57 plus 57 plus 57 equals 228. So from that, you have a total of 228 points for the entire year. In order to figure out the average, your average for that, for this course, what you would have to do is you would have to divide those 228 points by 4. Okay? So if we divide those 228 points by 4, that obviously means that you have a 57 overall average. Okay, guys? So that would mean that your overall average for social, whoops, that's what happens when you type too fast. Average, here we go, for social studies in this scenario would be a 57%. Okay, guys, and let me see if I can find percent on my keyboard. There it is. Okay. So if you got 457s, 57 for the first quarter, 57 for the second, 57 for the third, and 57 for the fourth, you add those all together and you divide by 4 to figure out your average for the year. That's how you figure out your average. Okay, guys? So if you had a 65, a 70, an 82, and a 95, you would add those four quarters together, you divide by 4, and that would tell you your overall average for the entire year in social studies. Okay, guys? So just for the heck of it, let me just show you what that would look like. So let's say you had a 65 for the first quarter, you had a 75 for the second, you had an 85 for the third, and you had a 90 for the fourth. Okay? So, going back to the calculator, let's clear this out. There it is. So, let's say you had, like I said, you had a 65 for the first quarter, then you had a 75 to it, and then an 85 for the third quarter, and a 90 for the fourth quarter. That would give you a total of 315 points. Okay? So your total is 315 points. Now, when we divide by 4 for each of the four quarters, that the four numbers that were added in, that's going to give you a total average of a 78.75, which is going to round up to an overall average of 79. Overall average is 79%. Now, why am I telling you all this? Well, it's important to know because whatever your average of your four quarters are, that's going to determine how many points you get for completing this assignment. So, for example, if you have between a 50 or a 60, you're going to get 30 points added to the total points that you have accumulated, and then I'm going to divide by 4. Me and Mr. Caparella are going to divide by 4 to figure out your overall yearly average. Okay? If you had a 79, you will get 10 points added onto your overall average, the total number of points that you got. So instead of a 315, you'd have a 325 points. We divide by 4, and that would figure out your total average, your overall average for the year. It is geared to help those that have a lower grade than those that have a higher grade. Absolutely. And the reason is because these students here are in danger of failing the year, and we are looking to help them get over the hump. You guys here already have a phenomenal grade, and you've done the work and you've done everything that's necessary to take and do really well in this course. So I am not worried about you guys. You guys are not in danger of having to go to summer school. You are headed to 8th grade in social studies, no problem, no question about it. But these students are not. So I'm looking to try to make sure if they do the assignment, to help them avoid summer school. That's my goal and what I'm trying to do, guys. Does that make sense? Anybody in here in these ranges that wants to do the assignment, by all means, go ahead. Okay? It's not going to take you very long. It'll up your average. The only people that won't see any bump in their average is anybody that has a 100 because you're not going to go any higher than a 100 average. Okay, guys? But anybody else can raise their grade if they want to add a couple points or a few points to their grade. All right, guys? So, how is this going to work? So, we already know that how the points are going to break down. So, let me put this into practice for you. So, let's go back to that example of somebody who had a 57 for each of the 4 quarters. Okay, guys? So 57 for the first quarter, 57 for the second quarter, the 57 for the third, and the 57 for the fourth. So we know that the overall average for that is a 57. We already figured that out. We already did the math. So we know that their total points are going to be 228 total points. So if you do this assignment, what me and Mr. Caffarella are going to do is we are going to add to that total the 30 points that you earn from this assignment. If you complete it, if you do it right, you will earn that 30 points. So that new total that you will now have after we add that 30 points to it is going to be 258 total points. Okay? So then what we are going to do is we're going to divide it by 4, okay? Because we're adding 30 points to your overall average. All right, guys? So if we add that 30 points and then we take and do the math for this total average, okay? So we already know that 457s for the 4 quarters adds up to 228 points, as we can see right here. And then when you add the 30 points additional that you're getting for this optional assignment, we know that that is 258 total points that you have. Okay? So if we take 258 total points and we divide it by 4, that means you are now at a 64.5, which we will round up to a 65. 65 is passing. Okay, guys? So that will take you from having to go to summer school to passing the year if you do this assignment. Okay, guys? So I want to make you aware of that. I want you to be aware so that you know how to help yourself and how to take and get yourself out of this situation. Okay? So now there are some of you that if your grade is lower than an average of a 57, it may or may not help you. Okay? It may be a little bit lower, and I may just take and if you do the other homework assignments to bump it up to a 57, you've got a better chance of passing than if you have 450s and you do this assignment but have done no work the entire year. That's not going to help you. You need to make sure you make up some of your work to try to at least get up to a 57 for those of you that are that low. Okay? So that is how this works. Now let's take a look real quick, and I'll take a look real quick at our other example, the 65, 75, 85, and 90. So let's take a look at that real quick. Let me just break that down for you. So we've got 65 for the first quarter, 75 for the second, 85 for the third, and 90 for the fourth. Okay. So we know that total points, that equals 315 total points, as we can see right here. Okay, guys? So we know that that is an overall average of a 79. Okay? So from 76 to 80, you're only adding 10 points onto that total. So let's take a look and see what happens if we add 10 points. Okay? So this actually, let me just make sure that 65%, I want to make sure that this all looks the same. Okay. So it looks a little bit different, but you can see the 65% overall. So now let's go back. So we've got 65, 75, 85, and 90. That adds up to a total of 315 points, which we know from here is a 79% average. We look up here, and you add 10 points for that assignment, which equals 325 total points. If we divide that by 4, what that is going to give us for that person's overall average. Okay, so 325. Actually, let me do that again. 320, not 22, 25 divided by 4 would give you an overall average of an 81.2, which would be an 81. Okay, guys? You are going from a 79 to an 81. Okay? So you're going from a C plus to a B minus. So it would be worth it to definitely do that if you're looking to raise a letter grade or something like that. So that's how this is going to work. And let me just add this social studies. Okay. So that's how this is going to work for this, guys. And that's how we calculate your averages. And unless Mrs. Zullo or Mrs. Zaza or Mr. Alexander tell us to do it differently, that's how we're going to be calculating your averages. And that's how we're going to be figuring out your average. All right, guys. So that is the result of your assignment. That's what's going to happen if you decide to do this optional assignment. Okay, guys. So you will end up improving your grade, and some of you might keep yourselves out of summer school if you take and do this assignment. Okay, I strongly recommend you do it. I strongly recommend that you go ahead and complete this assignment, especially if you are on the line between passing social studies for the year and having to go to summer school and spending the first 3 weeks of your summer in the building or at home with your Chromebook, having to listen to me because I'm the social studies teacher for summer school, having to listen to me teach what you've already learned and what you already talked about for 10 months earlier this year. Okay, guys? So definitely keep that in mind. Definitely put that in the back of your mind as you are trying to take and figure out how you're going to pass social studies if you are one of those students that has a 50 or a 60, between a 50 or a 60 and between the 61 and the 64. The 64 is failing. Okay, guys? So if you do have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, I will make sure that I try to clarify any of those questions on Tuesday or Wednesday. Mr. Caffarello will do the same. And hopefully plenty of you guys do this, and you guys do enough of you guys do this that it saves you and helps you, and enough of you guys do this so that I don't have to see a whole lot of you in summer school, because I'd really, really, really like to not have a lot of you in summer school, and I'd really like you guys to be able to enjoy your summer. It's been a heck of a year. It's been a very strange but very fun year for me. And it's just been an all around crazy year. And I want you guys to get some recharge time before you come back next year and you're back at it again in eighth grade. All right, guys? So if anybody does have any questions, feel free to email me or Mr. Caparella or ask us on Tuesday or Wednesday, and we will clarify any of those questions that you might have. All right? With that said, guys, have a fantastically awesome day. Enjoy your Digital Monday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow and Wednesday. Have a great day, guys.